Good evening and welcome to the Cabarrus County Board of Education's work session and business meeting for Monday, July the 11th. We will say welcome and welcome to those that are joining us live stream. I will call the meeting to order and ask all of you to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Board members, we will begin with items under number 3, setting the agenda. May I have a motion that the agenda be approved as presented?
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Carpenter, a second by Mr. Furr. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. That motion passes unanimously. We will begin with items under number 4, 4.01, which are the board chair comments. I will hold those until the August meeting and turn it over to Dr. Kopicki for superintendent comments 4.02.
Thank you, Mrs. Grimsley. Just a few items this evening before we begin into our agenda. I want to remind everyone that our school nutrition department is providing meals to children in our community during the summer months. You can find information about meal locations on our district website and select school nutrition at the appropriate site. And if you look in the Find It Fast section, you can also find information as well. You can also apply for our free and reduced price meal benefits for the upcoming school year through the online application. And you can access the application through the school nutrition icon on our district website. Paper applications are also available at school sites. If there are any parents out there or guardians that need help with that, I would suggest that they please call the school and ask the principals for assistance or guidance on that. We are strongly encouraging those that would like to access our free and reduced price meal benefits to fill those forms out. It's beneficial for our parents, for our students, and also for our district, as we do tie some of our E-rate funding into the free and reduced meal prices. So it's important that we have everyone fill those forms out. And to remind everyone, those forms are confidential, and we make sure of that. So please, if you need that assistance, reach out to our schools. Our Read to Achieve reading camps began today at 4 of our school sites: Coltrane Webb, W.M. Irvin, Rocky River, and Royal Oaks School of the Arts. The camps, which will continue through July 28th, are for rising 3rd and 4th grade students. And if you're interested in volunteering to serve as a reading mentor, please visit our district website to register and learn more. And the reading mentors can read to an entire class, work with small groups or individuals on a one-on-one basis with the student. So if there's an interest for that, we would ask you to please reach out to our schools. And our students and staff, it's hard to believe, at Wolf Elementary kick off the 22-23 school year on Tuesday, July 19th, and families are invited to open house at the school on Thursday, July 14th from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. Some congratulations are in order. Jennifer Nichols, a Spanish teacher at Cox Mill High School, has been selected to participate in the 22-23 UNC Worldview Fellows Program. She is one of 15 North Carolina educators that teach in diverse disciplines selected for the program to develop curriculum to bring global issues into classrooms. Also, Northwest Cabarrus High School student Kyle Wood, who received the bronze medal for related technical math at the 2022 Skills USA National Skills and Leadership Conference. This is a showcase of career and technical education students. Kyle was one of more than 5,000 outstanding career and technical ed students who won at the state contest and competed in 100-plus hands-on trade, technical, and leadership fields. In his category, Kyle competed against the clock and other students to prove his expertise and skills for solving technical math problems associated with the math used in technical professions. As always, I'd like to thank all of our teachers and commend them for their hard work. And here are two examples of one of our teachers excelling and one of our students excelling. And that is done because we have outstanding educators and teachers in the Cabarrus County school system. And our kids continue to compete at the local, regional, state, national level and succeed. And that's attributed directly back to the instruction they receive in the classroom, and our teachers do a wonderful job of that. So I thank them for their dedication to our kids. And then lastly, our Transportation Department colleagues, Greg Ford, Darrell Lemley, Dustin Parker, and Cody Robbins. They all placed in the top 12 in the state for the North Carolina Bus Inspection Competition at the North Carolina Pupil Transportation Association Transposium. This event was held June 27th and 30th at the Embassy Suites in Concord Convention Center. So we would like to commend and congratulate those transportation workers for their excellence and for representing the Cabarrus County Schools again at such a high level. It's all of us working together, and all of the employees, our students, our teachers, our parents, the entire community that continue to put the Cabarrus County school system at the top when we talk about achievements. Our folks doing a fantastic job, and we appreciate that immensely. And that's all I have, Mrs. Grimsley.
Thank you. So tonight, we are set up a little differently for a combined work session and business meeting. It's also our legislative agenda night, and we would like to say thank you to Representative Baker for being here with us. Senator Paul Newton was called out of the state for legislative business, and Representative Pittman had to decline due to business that he had as well tonight. So with that being said, we're going to get started. I know that Mr. White is running just a little bit late. Mr. Vogel, do you have anything for attorney comments? Nothing tonight. Okay, so with that, we will move on to our presentation of 5.01, our legislative agenda presentation, and I will turn it back over to Dr. Kopicki.
Thank you, Mrs. Grimsley. First, I'd like to thank Dr. Baker for being here this evening, for your continued advocacy for our school system, and for representing the Cabarrus County Schools in all the work that you do. We know you work hard and tirelessly. I appreciate immensely the fact that you're willing to sit here this evening and again listen to the legislative review that I know that you have been aware of and have been working tirelessly and ruthlessly trying to support our school systems. It is my understanding that the budget did pass today, and that was no small feat. A lot of the agenda items we're going to talk about and review tonight for our public again are things that you supported and helped us to make our school systems better, stronger, and safer. So we thank you very much for your advocacy and for your support of the Cabarrus County Schools. It's unusual at times to be able to reach out to representatives and get you on a first name basis, or get you when you call the office, or it's not your secretary that we talk to, it's always you we talk to, or it's always Paul or whoever it is that we reach out to. But Representative Baker, I really deeply appreciate the hard work that you're doing in Raleigh and representing our school system in such a fine fashion. It's a partnership that we enjoy, and as we review these things this evening, again, some of these were things that were passed today, and we appreciate your advocacy for all that you do for us on behalf of our kids. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It's absolutely my pleasure to be here, and I appreciate all the hard work you all do for our students, our future, and also our most vulnerable. They really depend on everyone's work who's here in this room and those who are listening, and I just really appreciate the opportunity to serve and to work with you. Thank you.
You bet. So tonight, again, we're going to kind of go over the legislative agenda again, and it's more of a information type of a session to remind our folks in our community of the things that we had proposed several months back, along with the Board of Directors and the Cabarrus County School Board, the things that they had asked us to legislate and advocate for. And again, as that was passed today, so this is just a reminder to all the folks of things that we were hoping to see, and again, many of these things we did see, and just to try and keep in front of you some of the things that we would be asking you to be aware of as they come along in the next General Assembly session down the road. So again, I thank you for that. So the first one up is going to be Dr. Withers, and she's going to talk to us about remote learning days. And Dr. Withers?
Good evening. The first piece is that we would ask to make permanent the provision in the North Carolina General Statute that does allow public schools to transition from in-person to remote learning in case of emergency, severe weather, or other emergency situations. And I do believe this was included. So it's our first one.
Yep. And next, Amy Lauder is going to talk to us about the school and safety and mental health.
Good evening. How are you? So, is this on? Is it okay? We were trying to encourage the General Assembly to talk about the need for continuing support for school safety and mental health needs. I'm not sure if that went through today or not, but we feel the need to represent all SISP, our specialized instructional support personnel, looking at school counselors, school social workers, school psychologists, and school nurses, trying to increase those ratios, make those better, or decrease the numbers, but get more of them. And then also our school resource officers, making sure that we've got those. Ideally, one at every school would be great. Increasing the supports for equipment, training, and then also the positions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and it's been a pleasure to work with you. And yes, as you know, we have, there's a lot of work to be done, and so we've made some important steps in this budget, but still more to do. But we have increased the the amount of school school psychologists particularly, and those ratios are still far from what we'd like. But we're continuing to do that, and have put a lot of money into school safety in the budget that passed today, and in safety resource officers, and in programs that support school safety. So I will look forward to getting feedback about, how that's been utilized and what additional avenues we need to cover.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dr. Michael Williams is going to talk briefly on recruiting and retaining top talent.
Good evening. So Cabarrus County Schools believes that permanent pay increases should be provided to all teachers, instructional support personnel, and assistant principals who are paid on the A salary schedule. Additionally, we believe the General Assembly should assist us in recruiting and retaining qualified teachers, particularly by restoring the supplemental pay for teachers with advanced degrees in their subject area. We believe, as the public and state leaders expect North Carolina's teachers and support personnel to exceed the national average, we believe that the average salary should exceed the national average as well. We believe a pay increase should be given to non-certified school personnel who did not receive additional compensation in the last biennium, and that we would request priority given to enhancing professional development opportunities and teacher preparation programs, such as new teacher support programs, advanced teaching roles programs, teacher assistant tuition reimbursement, and the North Carolina Teaching Fellows.
Thank you so much. And we were able to increase the salary for the non-certified school personnel by 4% or $15 an hour, whichever is greater. I think these other things are issues we've talked about a lot. And to me, it makes sense that teachers with advanced degrees in their areas should be covered. And I know we've talked quite a bit, Ms. Grimsley and I have talked quite a bit about that. And so that's something that we're going to continue to work on. But I think these are really, obviously, the key areas that we get. We need to pay our teachers, and I was just reading a lot about how we instruct our teachers as well. And I know I've had a lot of talks with both the community college and the university system about how we're going to improve how we educate our teachers, and then of course retain them. So thank you so much.
Increased pre-K funding. Sarah Reeves.
Thank you. So as we all know, the impact of early childhood education is key, and so we continue to advocate for more opportunities for our early learners to get a jump start on learning. So we were extremely excited to see that in the budget it had an increase of the base reimbursement rates for our Head Start as well as our pre-K programs, and so continuing to advocate for that so that we can continue to reach more learners with funding and expand those programs as we move forward.
Thank you so much. I will say that that movement had a lot of support in the legislature, so we were pleased to do that. And certainly, as a child psychiatrist, I'm so aware of early developmental needs. So pleased to be able to do that. And again, we'll keep working though.
Thank you. And Mrs. Reeves again with the teacher assistants.
Absolutely. So just continuing to advocate for the need for additional supports in our classroom, again, to meet the diverse needs of our early childhood education program as well as the needs of our learners. And so thinking strategically about the multiple roles that our teacher assistants can use to support our learners, especially with letters and all of the literacy components around science of reading coming down the pipeline, and how our teacher assistants can continue to advocate to provide small group instruction for our learners, especially in kindergarten through third grade.
Dr. Withers, the calendar flexibility.
Yes, so allowing all public schools to determine their start and stop dates for all schools within their school system. Obviously, you know that currently we are held to the Monday closest to August 26th as our opening, and the closing the Friday closest to June 11th. And so looking to make a calendar that best suits the needs of our learners, our community, and allows us to use the resources such as the community college system that has a very different schedule, so that our students can actually access that in a calendar that mirrors what meets our community schedules.
I appreciate that, and also Chair Grimsley and I have discussed that at length. I know there's actually, this is hotly debated, as you well know, and there's a lot of support for it, and I think the balance, as you well know, is often tourism interest versus that, and I think there can be really strong arguments for the flexibility, but so we will keep working on that, and feel free to flood me with information on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Then the next two, Dr. Williams, if you would come back up, we'd ask you to address the reinstatement of full retirement health benefits, as well as the waive retirement weight. If you'd address both of those while you're here, you want to come back?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right, so as a part of the recruitment and the retention piece, we would like to request the legislature to take a look at the reinstating full retirement health benefits. That is a key recruitment and retention piece for our staff members, certified and non-certified, at this point, and so we'd like the legislature to take a look at that. Also, as we face the churn of teacher movement at the moment, we would like the legislature to please take a look at waiving the retirement wait law. So at this point, when someone retires, there's a 6-month period before they are able to come back and work for the district again. And in our current state, it would be very helpful for us in terms of making sure that all children have a quality teacher in each classroom for them to be able to come back to work immediately or much quicker after retirement.
And for how long has that been an issue?
I mean, the 6 months has been in as long as I've been
Okay.
around, 20-some plus years, and
Okay,
it's been in
so
place as long as I've been around.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect, thanks.
Correct me if I'm wrong, too, that would help us to an immediate needs of having some positions filled right away, so we wouldn't have to be worrying about filling some position if we were short in some areas, which is why it would help us, correct?
That's correct.
Right. Good. And then the last two, Dr. Withers and Sarah Reeves, you can address these as you see fit. If you would talk to the audience about the adjust school performance grades, and the last one is the pandemic learning loss.
Sure, thank you. So adjusting school performance grades is also an issue that you hear about quite a bit. There's two models here. One would be a system where you would have one grade for growth and one for proficiency, so allowing us to showcase the hard work of our teachers and our students as they grow. Proficiency saying that they're at grade level, but growth showing where they started and where they ended and the impact of that instructional year. Or changing a singular grade to 50% proficiency and 49% growth. Right now, it is 80% proficiency and 20% growth, which does not get to showcase the work, the hard work in that instructional year of students that are growing and are starting at a different starting block than some of our others and have those needs.
Thank you.
And going along with that, just the pandemic learning loss. So I think we are still uncovering the long-term ramifications of our students being out of school and the long-term impact of the pandemic, obviously, but the key is providing the remedial instruction and differentiated support for our learners. And so we've been tremendously blessed with a lot of ESSER funding to be able to provide support right now. We have rising kindergarten, 6th, and 9th grade students that have started Summer Bridge to help with transition camps that are happening the month of July, as well as our Career Accelerator camps, which we are very excited about. But thinking long-term with ESSER funding, concluding at the end of next year what will be the plan moving forward to be able to provide that level of support for students, because we know that it's going to take time and a lot of energy and resources, and that includes the calendar flexibility piece. So being able to allow districts to assess the needs within the local area of support to be able to address the needs of all of our learners.
And I don't know if this would be an appropriate time to ask this question, but at some point I'd be interested in whether the school has an approach to remediation learning, going forward for the school year remediation learning.
Yes, so we, I think we have really worked diligently to be able to collect the data on where the gaps exist for our students. And so we've talked a lot about leveraging diagnostic tools to be able to assess comprehensively. Not only do our students have the knowledge that they need from the current grade level, but previous grade level standards, where do we need to go back and reassess? And so we are leveraging currently the iReady diagnostic tool for many of our students to be able to figure out where the gaps are that we need to plug in, and then intentionally shifting our instructional framework to support with what we call augmented core. So as opposed to going back and teaching the previous year's standards, how do we use the existing standards and expand upon that? So what does that look like in terms of a scaffolded component? So providing that job-embedded professional development for our teachers to say, we can't afford to go back and reteach a whole year's worth of content. So what does it look like to be able to provide that support? And TNTP has released actually a lot of really phenomenal resources called Accelerate, Don't Remediate. And what does that look like to not have to go back and teach a whole year, but be able to get students on grade level? So we're continuing that work. We're really excited about the professional development that we'll be providing our teachers in August around that. And then, of course, the curriculum support throughout the course of the year using those diagnostic tools.
Thank you for that. I'm super excited to hear you talk about that because, well, and as I know you all know, those who were most behind that gap has actually increased, and particularly is paralleled with levels of poverty. That accelerated learning model, I think, is so exciting, and that research that shows, that if we can teach so a third grader or a fourth grader who didn't maybe learn in third grade what they needed because of COVID, if we start teaching fourth grade and then pick up those high-level principles as they go along, right? And is that what you call scaffolding? Yes. So I'm just really excited because I think that research is very promising, and I know Guilford County has done that and had a model with just math, and it was very successful. So I would love to see our data on that. Really encouraged to hear about that. Thank you.
So I would like to thank Dr. Baker for her advocacy and help to all students in Cabarrus County. Every year we have many asks, and this year it's rewarding and fulfilling to know that some of those things that we did ask for are actually going to come to fruition, especially in terms of supporting our teachers and employees with the minimum 2.5% raise, possibly up to 4.2%. So that's very encouraging for all of our workers. They work very hard, and it's nice to see that our legislative branch and of government and the executive branch are supporting that and helping our teachers out and our employees. So we appreciate that. To data, if there's anything you do need, do not hesitate. We're here to work with you as a partner, and we want to work with you. And if there's anything you need from us, as you can see, we're surrounded by excellence on a daily basis. And any of these people you can reach out to, and I promise you they will help you and give you all the information that you need. So we're here to support you as you support us. And again, we thank you very much for your time. I'm going to step back here and hand this back over to Mrs. Grimsley. If there are any questions you may have throughout the evening, don't hesitate to ask, or of anyone. And again, we're always here to help you and help push the education agenda forward. So thank you.
Thank you, and I just want to say again what a privilege it has been to work with you all, and I think it can't be overstated the challenges that we're faced, and continue to be faced because of the pandemic. And I just thank you and know you guys have been on the front lines with this. So thank you very much.
Representative Baker, I want to give you an opportunity if there's any additional questions or comments that you want to make now before I turn it over to the board members. Are you good? Okay. I want to say thank you to the board members and commend all of you for getting this legislative agenda before our representatives and doing such a great job. And thank you to the presenters tonight. That was awesome. So we really appreciate that. I'm going to start with Ms. Blackwell and comments or questions.
I'm so excited that this turned out so well. And Dr. Baker, as always, thank you for being so available with your time. Whenever, any of us have ever called you, I know that you have been so easy to get in touch with. So we're just grateful to have a representative that is there to pick up the phone and to fight for us when we need it. So thank you very much for coming today.
Mr. Furr?
Yes. I'd also pretty much want to tell you the same things. We appreciate you very much. We appreciate all the representatives. And I think now would be a good time to bring up Miss Grimsley, because I know she has probably wore you out in the last 2 years.
Your words, not mine.
Yeah. Well, I know, because a lot of times I just talk to Dr. Baker. So I know she has represented us as a board, as the go-to person with you, and I just want to tell you thank you very much, because I know how much time and effort you have put into this agenda. So thanks.
Well, thank you.
Thanks to both of you.
And thank you for telling the viewing audience how difficult I can be at times. So, not that they probably don't already understand that, but thank you. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. Ms. Carpenter?
Well, I have to say ditto to both of my two board members had said. I know that both of you have worked very hard, and I know, Holly, that you've taken many, many trips up to Raleigh to advocate for both our board and for our community. And Dr. Baker, I really appreciate all the work that you've done for us, and I know you will continue to do for us. And everybody on this board know that I have a couple areas that I'm really get excited about. I know safety is one of my big concerns. I know that it is yours, and so I know you will keep advocating for us on those areas, and mental health. Those are really key areas. So anything you can do for us in those areas, because we are still really, those are areas that we can always use extra help. And again, our TAs and everybody on this knows that those are areas that I'm always advocating for. And as we all know, that we're really working on early childhood, trying to get more work to get more classrooms for the early childhood development, getting, I know this is the area that Dr. Kopicki really wants to get more classrooms for that, and we're wanting to get more of that into the school system. So this is we will need more teachers for that. So really go to work for us up there. And I know that Dr. Kopicki probably will be coming to you to see if you can give us a little help on that. But those TAs, they are so important. And I know at one time we got cut in that area, and now we're trying to build back up on that. So whatever help you can give us, we would appreciate it. But again, you've done a wonderful job, and thank you so much.
Ms. Sandage?
Well, I'll echo everything that the other board members have said. I just wanted you to know personally that this is delightful. We don't get to have these types of meetings and even get to see our representatives most times, so this is good. We went to a training with ECAC today, and to have board members in that training, the teachers were excited about that. The administrators were excited about that. So just so you know, folks, they want to see us. So this is very good that you've taken the time to do that. I do have a question just in relation to some of the things that you said. So you said we need to pay our teachers. And then you talked about we discuss things a lot. I wanted to know if you could explain for the viewing audience, what does that mean? So for example, we always assume that people know what we're talking about. Like if we need to pay our teachers, where does that happen at? Where do those discussions happen, and where does that go from there? I hope I'm making sense.
Yes, thank you, and thanks for that question. And so I think you probably know, but to your point, the viewing audience might be interested to know that there were a number of focus groups that were held around the state to talk to people about what do our schools need, what are we seeing, where are the teacher pipelines, are people's, what is the attrition rate, that kind of thing. And so that was part of what was done, and then those discussions are brought to the General Assembly in several different forms. So there are committee meetings that happen just for discussion only, and so the Education Committee will meet and do that, and then there are, of course, committee meetings on which votes occur too, and that wouldn't be just the Education Committee. Of course, it would go through some other committees as well, Finance and others of interest. So I think that those discussions happen in a number of ways. So those are some of the formalized ones, and then, of course, informal ones as well, just like this, right? People getting out, and truly, it's a privilege for me to be here. So thank you for that. And so I think there are a number of means in which that happens. And I don't know if you want me to be, if there's something more specific you might be asking.
Well, you answered my question in part, but I think, like I was saying, people assume that folks understand what we do. A lot of the times we're re-clarifying what we do on camera, we're re-clarifying things all the time so the public understands what we do. And what I was asking is we discuss it, where does that discussion happen? And then let's just say we don't get it. What happens after that? We know what we're asking for. We don't get that. We don't get our colleagues to agree to that. What happens next? Do we continue to discuss it, or do we ask that something be done?
And I may not fully understand your question.
I'm trying to simplify it as best as I can, honey. So I really and truly want to understand if we are continuing to discuss things and things aren't changing, what happens? Because people don't understand that process and they just see it not happening. Like we need to pay our teachers, that was your quote. But when those things don't happen, what do we do next?
Let me interject for just a minute. Are you talking about our legislative agenda? Okay. She's talking
correct.
about when we carry that legislative agenda through every year, there are things that, come to fruition and things that do not. So she's asking, where does it go? I can tell you, we put it on the next year's legislative agenda, and y'all do have the discussion, and then I come to Raleigh a little bit more, right?
Right.
So we do. We move it on, if the board decides, because it's a board action. So we'll take off the things that, were approved, and then update it. So next year, y'all will look at it again, and the things that, did not take place, you'll decide if it's something that the board wants to support again, and then you talk with your legislators.
Right, and thank you. And so, yes, and so, for instance, and I guess that I think that one of the things for us all to remember, and I have to remind myself, is, that we take steps toward, right? And I know I mentioned that a couple times. We've done some things, not enough. And so I think a lot of these agendas aren't, 100%, right? And we pointed some of that out in the discussion where, all right, we were able to do one thing, or we were able to give 9%, salary increase. Is that actually enough? So I think that those are ongoing discussions. These are ongoing conversations. Obviously, we spend over half of our budget in the state on education, and so we're all very committed to utilizing those funds in the ways that best, enhance student success, right? Their health and well-being and ability to go out and create the world that they want to create, and that we're depending on them doing, right, for our futures. And so I think that, to answer your question, none of these agenda items are ever, finished. So we've enhanced salaries, or we're working on teacher retention. That never ends. And so I think that's an ongoing issue, and we continue. So yes, certainly we'll bring forward, and you all will put forward for us ongoing items. But sort of like development of children, right? It's never done, and we want to continue to see what we can do better. And were those funds well used? That's something that I'm really focused on in terms of metrics, looking at a baseline, and then we try an intervention, whether it's through funding or a change in our approach, and then did that work? Because if it didn't work, we need to do something better and different. And so I think it's an ongoing, to your question, it's absolutely an ongoing process. And we never stop.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Mr. Walter?
Yeah, again, I want to thank you for taking the time. It does mean a lot to us. It means a lot to the staff here. It means a lot to the stakeholders that you're here and learning what our issues are and what our needs are. And that's probably the core of this legislative agenda, is to inform you what the needs are here locally. And the neat thing to me is you get it. I mean, you know it's about kids. And that means a lot to know that you're up there representing us. My big issue, again, is the calendar flexibility, to be able to actually end the first semester before Christmas and not have the kids back would make such a huge difference. And to do I mean, I know you are doing everything you can to allow that to happen, but that's been a priority here, and we would really love to see that happen. But thanks again for coming.
No, I appreciate that, and I do think, with the testing being before Christmas, I think there are just a lot of arguments to be made on that behalf, and, how do we balance those needs with, right. You've got that answer, yeah. Thank you.
Ms. Adcock?
Again, thank you for being here and just for all the work it takes, to get this done. I know it's a collaborative effort to get people to agree on things like this, so for us, it's a win-win. I did have a question, though. Will there be continued discussions around, the prices of food and the prices of gas as far as it will affect our school system? Or are there continuing discussions going on about that, for future, if that, continues to climb, that we'll have those additional costs?
Yeah, that's a really good point. And, as you probably know, in the budget, we tried to do away with the co-pays for lunches, and then have enhanced payments because of gas for the school buses. So, yes, I think that those items will continue to be relevant, and so we'll continue to do our best to address the changes. It's dynamic, and we'll definitely continue to do that.
Thank you. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you.
Well, I definitely want to say thank you. And yes, absolutely, you are the absolute hardest worker up there that we have ever had the privilege of working with. Constant.
No, I think that relationship and communication are just key. And so I really do want to stress that. You all are very kind with your comments, but, a lot of that has to be reflected back to you all. I don't know what I don't know, right? And so you all bring that to me, and so I'm just very grateful for that. And I think open communication and relationship and, and being able to work with, the other elected officials, the other representatives and senators who really have a heart for this community. So really, it is truly a privilege, and really, most of that those positive comments, really do reflect back on you all for reaching out and letting us know what's going on. Really grateful for that.
Well, thank you. And just for the viewing audience, and to Ms. Sandwich's point, because you're right, people don't know what they don't know. And our goal with the legislative agenda, which I know that you understand, is always to put before our top priorities what really is the most important issues that we're dealing with in a system. And our representatives, I know it's very challenging because each district, because I'm actually the chair of the chairs of the district, so every district is different. So you're working with the district representatives that don't have the same priorities, and they are different. So it's challenging for you, it's challenging for us, it's challenging for all our different districts. But that's what the most important piece of this is to put before our representatives our legislative agenda priorities. Once they're approved every year, then we move them forward to the next year, and we go back and reevaluate. The board takes action on that, reevaluates that, what's important, are those still important items, or do they need to change, and then present and have those same discussions. So, thank you. Okay, board members, anything else, comments or questions? Representative Baker, anything from you? Okay, all right, thank you. So before I move to 6.01, which are our committee reports, I wanted to recognize in the audience we have with us District 83 Representative-elect Kevin Crutchfield. Thank you for being here with us tonight. We appreciate it. We know that you're getting an education tonight. You had no idea.
Hopefully she won't be too far away from you.
That's right. She, good.
Just a comment, Kevin Crutchfield has already been up to the legislature, wanting to know what he needs to know, what he can do, and really appreciate that, and so really excited to work going forward.
And also, since we've mentioned the SROs, I want to say thank you for being here tonight and being a part of our meeting. And I'm also going to turn it over now to 6.01. I'll start with Ms. Blackwell for committee reports.
I do have just wanted to remind everyone that we do have our literature and supplemental material meeting. Tomorrow, it is going to be at R. Brown McAllister this time at 6 o'clock. So our committee will be there, but we also allow visitors to come as well. So if anybody wants to come, it'll be tomorrow night at 6.
Thank you. Mr. Furr, anything?
No, ma'am.
Ms. Carpenter?
Not this month, but maybe next month. I do have a couple training sessions. I had one today, but I'm going to wait till probably next month and have everything together. But thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Sandage?
Sure. So our Schools and Community Engagement Committee, we have not set our meeting for August yet. We are in the process of scheduling that and be looking forward for an email.
Perfect. Mr. Walter, anything? Ms. Adcock?
I just wanted to say that we're excited to announce that we have 5 new board student interns that will start in the school year next year. We're in the process now of just getting the emails ready to go out to the students so they'll know who they are that have been picked for that. We have a new agenda and a schedule for them, and just excited to have them to come in next year.
Thank you. That is great. Okay, that takes care of reports. We will move to 7.01, our guest speakers. And I'm going to read the normal disclosure statement. In accordance with Board Policy 2310, a part of each business meeting will be set aside for citizens to address the board through public comment. Each speaker will receive 3 minutes to present comments. Sign-up will be available 30 minutes before the meeting begins. Speakers must sign up with the board clerk no later than the normal start time of the regularly scheduled monthly business meeting. Speakers may sign up with the board clerk via email at boardclerk@cabarrus.k12.nc.us or by completing a contact information card. Speakers must include their name, group name, if applicable, address, and phone number, and list the general education-related topic of their presentation for the board minutes. During the public comment period, the board chair will recognize speakers in the order in which they signed in. Substitute speakers will not be permitted, and speakers may not donate any portion of their time to another speaker. If a speaker is unable to present all of his or her information within the specified time limit, the speaker may provide the board with the additional information in written form. If any unusually large number of people request to speak, a majority of the board may decide to reduce the time for each individual or to require the designation of a spokesperson for each group of persons supporting or opposing the same positions. At any time, the board may establish additional procedures to ensure that public comment sessions proceed in an efficient and orderly manner. Board members will not respond to individuals who address the board except to request clarification of points made by the presenter. Except in case of emergency, information received during presentations will not be acted upon at the time it is received. It will take a unanimous vote of the board members present to take action on a presentation considered to be of an unusual or emergency nature at the time it is presented. Disruptions by any person or persons of a public meeting will be subject to action in accordance with General Statute 143-318-17. And with that, our first speaker, and actually we only have one tonight, is Pam Escobar. Good evening.
Good evening. Hi. My name is Pam Escobar. I have 2 students in the school district. I'm a mama bear, and I'm running for Cabarrus County School Board. And out on the campaign trail, I speak to so many people, and some voters don't understand what the school board can do here in Cabarrus County and what we have to rely on lawmakers in Raleigh to do. And I want to thank you so much for attending tonight's meeting. It's important that you continue to advocate for our children in Raleigh. Children and students are our priority, and a quality education is so important. It's required, and you must make sure we have the funds to provide it. So I want to thank you for the work you have done and continue to do. In the board's presentation tonight, you heard about teacher pay, and I want you to understand how much we need good quality teachers in our classrooms. Teachers are burnt out and are leaving the profession for their health. We do have many dedicated teachers who have stayed, but we aren't getting much help from the state in recognizing their dedication to our students. Their raises don't keep up with inflation, and you are not recognizing the value of a master's degree or our veteran teachers. Please continue to work on that. I want to reiterate what the school board is asking for. Just as the public and state leaders expect North Carolina's teachers and support personnel to exceed the national average, so too should their average salary exceed the national average. Pay isn't the only thing adding to teacher stress, there's safety. Safety was also on the board's agenda. Thank you so much for the money for the SRO programs and the equipment. People have asked me if we will be using metal detectors in our schools more frequently, and that's a question for Dr. Kopicki and his conversations with the sheriff and police chiefs. What isn't on the agenda? Feeding kids. I'm passionate about feeding kids. I pack lunches for my girls for school, but so many kids have become completely reliant on free breakfast and lunch over the last 2 years. Thankfully, the federal government has extended that program through the summer, but this upcoming school year, that will be a challenge. Please do what Vermont, California, Maine, and Nevada are doing. They are offering free lunch to all students and picking up where the federal program stops. In fact, in Nevada, they're using federal pandemic funding, $75 million, to continue providing all K through 12 students with free breakfast and lunch during the coming school year. The $75 million ARPA funding will be offset by regular applicants to the free and reduced lunch program. So what does that mean? If North Carolina follows Nevada, we at the school district level will do everything we can to get our families to fill out those forms, that paperwork that ensures that they qualify for free and reduced lunch, while the state steps in and creates a buffer. You recognize that no student should go to school hungry. If a child's nutritional needs are met, they are more likely to learn. As a state representative, you must represent and care for every child in Cabarrus County. Feed them and pay their teachers a wage that recognizes the value of their work. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, board members, we will move to items under 8.01, our action agenda, and we will begin with the alternative accountability model, and I will have Mr. Gordon Palmer to the podium, please. Good evening.
Good evening, Chairman Grimsley, members of the board, Representative Baker, thank you for being here tonight. I'm presenting the alternative accountability model. We have the option for 2 of our schools to have an alternative accountability model through the state. There are 3 options to choose from. You have the information before you. Our accountability director, Matthew Fail, has discussed this with PLC and Opportunity School, and they are choosing option B. And I'll take any questions that you have.
Board members, comments or questions, and I'm going to begin with Ms. Adcock.
I don't have any comments or questions, but welcome.
Thank you.
I think you're new here, so we're glad you're here with us.
Thank you.
Mr. Walter.
Yeah, looking back when this was presented to us before, I think in 2019, Performance Learning Center was option A. Why the change?
From my understanding, we've been option B the whole time. And this is a model that benefits our students and representation of our schools. If they were under option A, this would be a much more accurate description of the performance of our students in these schools.
The other thing, Rob, it does is it puts more emphasis on the growth model using the EVOS, which gives us more confidence in the predictability of that data as we work with those students and create those educational plans for them. So option B, it just makes more sense for our students, gives them more flexibility in terms of their academics, and again, putting more emphasis on the growth gives us better predictability as how they're going to do in those outcomes.
And like Dr. Withers had mentioned, the traditional model is an 80% student school achievement and 20% growth, where this model will be 60% growth.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Sandage.
I always love the advocacy, so I appreciate folks understanding what they need to be successful and asking for it. So I don't have any questions, but welcome.
Thank you.
Ms. Carpenter.
That, my main question was, that's what we've always been then? Or that's,
To my knowledge, yes, since 2014 when it started.
oh, okay. All right, thank you.
Mr. Furr?
No questions.
Ms. Blackwell?
No questions and welcome.
Okay, board members, with that, may I have a motion that the alternative accountability model be approved as presented?
So moved.
So moved.
I'll have a motion.
Second.
I'll have a motion by Ms. Blackwell and a second by Ms. Sandage. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes unanimously. Thank you and welcome as well.
Thank you.
Now we will move to 8.02, policies for approval on first read. We will have Mrs. Sue Burns, and we will do what we normally do. Any comments or questions on policies? No. Okay. We have policy 3102, online instruction, 4240-7312, child abuse reports and related threats to child safety, policy 4260, student sex offenders, policy 4400, attendance, policy 5021-6138-7268, emergency use of naloxone, policy 5240, advertising in schools, policy 7810, evaluation of licensed employees, policy 7815, evaluation of non-licensed employees. Board members, comments or questions, and I'll begin with Ms. Blackwell.
No.
Mr.
Nope.
Furr?
No.
Ms. Carpenter? Ms. Sandage?
I don't have any questions.
Mr. Walter? Sorry.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, if you could just re-clarify, just for the viewing audience, what new, rescind, and all of those things mean. Why are we looking at these so that folks will know?
Sure. I'll be honest with you, the rescind should not be annexed to child abuse reports. That should be review. I apologize for that. A new policy, and these are not correct. We should have revision on everything with the exception of emergency use of naloxone, and that's a new policy. Revision just means that exactly that. There's some revisions in the policy. Basically, it's the same. A new policy is a policy we've never had before that was either provided to us by the Policies to Lead the Schools updates or a district request and was developed through our attorney and whoever in the district is responsible for that area, and then that goes through the policy committee.
So, Ms. Burns, just for clarification for the minutes, I'm going to restate that all of those should say revision.
With the exception of 5021, and that's a new policy.
And that one's new, okay.
Yes. Thank you for bringing that up.
Great. All right, we will continue with Mr. Walter.
Yeah, on that new policy, I read through that. And the first three paragraphs, I don't think are necessary for the policy because it's all kind of information that's not policy related. Probably doesn't, and it doesn't seem consistent with a lot of our other policies don't do that either. So maybe not have the first three paragraphs, but the rest of it's fine.
Okay.
Ms. Adcock?
No, I don't have any comments or questions.
Ms. Burns, would you like to address Mr. Walters?
Sure, yes. So that is to give kind of a background on why, because people don't know what naloxone is, and it just gives kind of a background on why we are developing this policy. Mr. Vogel, feel free to chime in there if you like.
Thank you, Ms. Burns. No, I agree with you that those paragraphs are introductory, they're informative. They're not very different from what we have in current policy 5023 regarding emergency epinephrine auto-injector device use, where there is kind of an introductory paragraph that's informative before it goes into some of the more usual and traditional provisions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vogel, and I think it's extremely important because I think, Ms. Burns, you are right, and Mr. Vogel as well. It is extremely important for the people that are reading this that don't have knowledge, that do not deal with this, understand. So I agree. Unless another board member has a comment or question about it, we will move that on for a motion. Hearing none, may I have a motion that the policy revisions for approval on first read be approved as presented?
So moved.
I have a motion by Ms. Adcock, a second by Mr. Furr. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Thank you. We will move on to 8.03, policies for approval on second read. Policy 2410, Policy Development, Policy 6220, Operation of School Nutrition Services, Policy 6560, Disposal of Surplus Property, Policy 7540, Voluntary Shared Leave, Policy 7550, Optional Teacher Workday, Policy 7620, Payroll Deductions, Policy 8320, Depositories, and Policy 9400, Sale, Disposal, and Lease of Board-Owned Real Property. Ms. Burns, any comments or questions from board members?
I have a question.
Okay. Dr. Peavy?
Policy 6220 should be revision as well, correct, Mrs. Burns?
That's correct.
And Mr. LeGrand, this is the policy you and I spoke of earlier today? The operation of school nutrition services, which concludes some of the caps?
That is correct.
So this would be one we probably want to, based on our discussion this morning, we'd want to table until we talk to Mrs. Allman further about this before the school year and bring this back next month?
Yes, I would recommend that.
Okay. So I would ask the board if they would table 6220. And I apologize for that. We had a conversation this morning regarding some things in the school nutrition services policy. We just didn't catch it.
Okay.
It would be wise for us to kind of wait on that. We had some
Is it a
things we want.
PLS update or is it a district thing? What is it?
It's more of a district situation that we want to go over and make sure we're bringing it back to the board. We want to revise this a little bit. Okay.
So you will just bring it back for our August agenda?
Yes, and I apologize for the late notice, but there was some good advice my way this morning that made me reconsider this policy this evening.
Okay, no, that's fine.
Thank you.
And now, board comments or questions, and I'll begin with Ms. Adcock. Comments or questions?
I don't have any.
Mr. Walter?
The same comment I made last month is you've got a clause in here that talks about policy rescinding and it has nothing to do with policy development, so I'm not opposed.
Which policy are you addressing?
2410, sorry.
Restate your comment.
2410, we've added suspension of existing policy to the policy development policy, and it really has nothing to do with that. I think it's hidden in there. We had a separate policy that talked about suspension of existing policy, and I think it should have remained that way, so that's why I'm opposed to it. You all have already discussed this last month. I'm just sharing my opinion.
Okay. Ms. Burns, would you like to respond?
Sure, and it's pretty much the same, that when the PLS service provided us with this update, their idea was to bring 3 or 4 policies together so that it was easier for the public to go through and find all the information on policies. And that one policy was literally 1 or 2 sentences long. So instead of making people go and find it, that it's kind of one-stop shop on policies.
So now it's hidden and they'll never find it, so, in my opinion.
Thank you. Ms. Sandage?
I'm good over here. Thanks.
Ms. Carpenter, comments or questions? Mr. Furr?
Good.
Ms. Blackwell?
No, ma'am.
Thank you.
Only thing I can say.
Will you key up, please?
Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. Policy committee did not have any problem with it. I mean, when we discussed it with it, nobody else on policy committee said anything. Is that correct, Sue?
That's correct, and it actually went through the policy committee twice.
Twice.
In the development. of
And
this, yeah.
they didn't have any problem with combining this all together. So that's the only statement I wanted to say. Now, Rob has got a problem with it, but again, it went through policy twice, and I'm on the policy committee, and no one else, and that's what my job is, since I'm on policy committee, to let y'all know if somebody says something.
And who's the other board member that is on the policy committee? Ms. Sandage. So if either two of you have no comment
I
or...
mean, nobody else said anything. So
Okay.
that's what my job is, to tell y'all if somebody did. And no one else on the policy committee said anything, so I'm letting you know that.
I'm all about making it easier for the public to see something, and when it says suspension of existing policies, that's not policy development. That's completely different.
So I am perfectly fine if you, Rob, if you want to switch and get on the policy committee, I'm perfectly fine with that, brother.
Would you like me to make that happen right now?
Yeah, let's do it.
Hey, that's the best idea. I've
Mr.
heard
Walter,
in
would you like
8
to take
years.
Ms. Sandage's place on the policy committee?
As long as it's not during the business day.
Thank you. Okay, so board members, with the exception of policy number 6220, which we will table until August, may I have a motion that the policy revisions for the approval on second read be approved as presented?
So moved.
I have a motion by Ms. Blackwell, a second by Mr. Furr. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? 6-1 with Mr. Walter as a no. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Burns. We will move to 8.04, our final budget amendments, and we will have, I think, Ms. Kim Aldridge tonight with us. Good evening.
Good evening. Hope you all are doing well. This amendment is related to the ECF, Emergency Connectivity Fund grant that we received in 2 waves. There was one wave that came in very late in June. This grant supported the purchase of Dell devices for our student and staff. Funds from the grant were sent directly to Dell computers, so not to CCS for payment. However, the purchase of the devices were for our benefit. So accordingly, we are required to record this grant as revenue and expenditure for our 2021-2022 school year. That's it.
All right, board members, comments or questions? I will begin with Ms. Blackwell.
No questions, thank you.
Mr. Furr? No. Ms. Carpenter? No. Ms. Sandage?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Walter?
Makes sense.
Ms. Adcock?
None.
Okay. Hearing none, may I have a motion that the final budget amendments be approved as presented?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Blackwell, a second by Mr. Walter. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes unanimously. Thank you. We will move to 8.05, Restart Update Calendar Revisions, and we will have Dr. Kelly Withers.
Good evening again, Board. Actually, we are going to have 3 principals come tonight to talk to us about their schools and representing 2 of our other Restart schools. So we're excited to hear the updates from them and some flexibility requests. So welcome.
I'm going to let each of you, or Dr. Withers, introduce yourselves, if you will, please.
Sure, absolutely. Good evening, and thank you so much for allowing us the opportunity to come here and speak with you tonight about Restart Schools and our collective Restart request. I'm Melody Marsh, principal at Royal Oak School of the Arts, and this is Tara Butch, principal at Rocky River Elementary, and Tanya Williams, principal at Concord Middle School. Also, I would say Dr. Trish Cook, principal at Weinkauf Elementary School, and Dr. James Davis, principal at Irvin Elementary School. They were not able to be here with us tonight, but they did collaborate with us on this presentation. So you may say, what is Restart? I've heard you say that you all are Restart Schools. You can advance to the next slide, thank you. So Restart is a reform model that is made available from the state to low-performing schools. So with the approval of the local school board, Restart Schools are able to use flexibilities and different rules similar to a charter school. So all with the goal of increasing student academic achievement. So the purpose of Restart is to increase student academic achievement and meet or exceed growth. And again, the 5 Restart schools of Cabarrus County are Royal Oak School of the Arts, Rocky River Elementary School, Weinkauf Elementary School, Irvin Elementary School, and Concord Middle School.
Thank you. And as Melody just said, one of the areas that we do look at Restart is our academic growth. And I'm very excited, and our schools were very excited, that 4 of our 5 schools last year, based on our EVOS Educator Effectiveness Growth data, exceeded growth. And those schools were Concord Middle School, Royal Oak School of the Arts, Rocky River, and WM Irvin. And then Weinkauf Elementary met growth. So we were very excited about our academic data from last school year. And just so you all are aware, we do have some requests that we have that have been in place since our schools became Restart schools. And so each of our schools were allotted some flexibility with staffing. And so Concord Middle School is requesting to continue funding for a reading and math interventionist. Royal Oaks School of the Arts is requesting to continue funding for their arts coordinator. Rocky River is continuing to ask for funding for our student success coach. Weinkauf STEM Elementary is continuing to ask for their classroom culture coach, and WM Irvin is continuing their student success coach as well as their parent and family advocate. One of the other areas of flexibility that we include into our restart plans is our employment, and that is just continued flexibility to hire quality staff outside of their content area and licensure areas. And then in terms of budget, just continuing flexibility to utilize our budget purchases for instructional items, as well as providing professional development for our staff and potentially looking at the opportunity to send some of our staff to visit other schools that have shown innovative success.
So I have the next slide. So the new request that we are looking at this year from all of our Restart schools is looking at a calendar flexibility. Being a Restart school, this is a flexibility that we are able to use as long as it's approved. So the one flexibility that we would like to implement this school year is an additional early release days for our 5 Restart schools. So the early release days that we are looking at is an early release day on October the 11th, February 14th, and March 14th. All of those are on Tuesdays, middle of the week. And the reason why we wanted to look at an early release instead of going on and maybe looking at some of our current early release days that the school board's already put in place for next year is we want to make sure our kids are served breakfast and lunch. So we felt like this would be really important for us to stick with another early release day instead of trying to do an extended full day for our schools. But the purpose behind these early release days is really to provide very specific professional development for our staff that's not necessarily district related or state related, but related to needs specific to our schools, which is really what Restart is for. So we can really focus in on the needs of our school and our students. Some examples of those initiatives that we want to continue to work on with our staff is for Rocky River, Royal Oaks, and Rocky River, Irvin, and Weinkauf, as well as Concord Middle. We're looking at just discipline, disproportionality, looking at high-yield instructional strategies, and of course, Weinkauf is going to look at some additional STEM because they are a STEM school, and then Royal Oaks is wanting to have a little bit of a focus on their arts integration program. So we've done a little legwork behind this request, and we have reached out to Jonathan Helms at the Boys and Girls Club of Cabarrus County, who they are amazing to partner with, and he has been awesome to look at. All of our schools serve a large number of students that go to the Boys and Girls Club at Cabarrus County, which is very fortunate. It's a great place for our kids to go after school. I think all of us have a full school bus at each school that go there, and Jonathan and the Boys and Girls Club are willing to partner with us on these early release days to ensure that our kids would have a place to go that are already enrolled in their Kids Plus or in their program at the Boys and Girls Club. So they are willing to accept our students early and releasing at that 12 o'clock if it's elementary or 1 o'clock for the middle school, which is the traditional same times we do early release for regular calendar. Again, choosing these 3 additional release days instead of extending a full day, we're making sure that our kids are getting breakfast and lunch, which is important to all of us. I think everyone in the room as well. And then, of course, our wonderful Kids Plus program here in Cabarrus County is also willing to partner with us and make sure that our kids, they have a site at Kids Plus for these schools on the early release day, but the pickup day will be 4:30 on those days, and from my understanding, that's the pickup day for all early release days for the calendar. So it would just be the same rule following for these additional early release days. There's the last one.
All right, so thank you so much for your time and attention. We'll be happy to answer any questions you have about our Restart schools, our collective request for our calendar change.
And I wanted to say one thing before they finish. If you haven't visited their schools, there is some impressive work going on in those schools. And I thank them for their leadership, always thinking outside of the box, how they're going to meet the needs of their students. So thank you, and thank you for being here in a mid-July board meeting.
Dr. Capicki?
Yeah, to that, I would just like to add, one of the things that we're challenging our principals with is to be innovative and creative and to push the envelope forward. And Restart gives us some of that opportunity to be a little different and to add some creativity to it. And the leaders you see in front of you this evening, as well as Dr. Cook and Dr. Davis, represent that. They are pushing the needle a little bit and trying to be different, innovative, and creative in how they approach things. So we wanted to share that with the board and to enlighten you as to some of the things that they are doing. I thank them for their leadership as well.
That was a great presentation. Thank you, and I'm going to open it up for discussion. Ms. Adcock, I'll begin with you.
Yes, that was a great presentation. Thank you guys so much for bringing that to us and for your leadership and just for the collaboration that you have reached out to our community and are working with partnerships with other nonprofits. That's really excellent, so thank you very much.
Mr. Walter?
Yeah, thanks also for the presentation, the great news there on things that are going on in your schools. I certainly appreciate all that. When we read, one of the most important things is having students in front of the class, in front of their teachers for classroom instruction. So we're taking away at least 3 days. How many hours are we losing of classroom instruction for this proposal?
I would say we have collaborated with Dr. Capicki and the cabinet, and we do have enough hours to meet that state mandate. I would like to venture and say that it is important to have students in front of the teacher, but it's equally as important to have teachers that feel capable and ready to, educate those students. And I know that I could speak for both of these ladies and Dr. Davis and Dr. Cook as well, in that we have accepted a lot of new staff over the past couple of years. And with COVID, we haven't had an opportunity to really do a lot of school level professional development. And then we had letters training come, and that really took the place of our school level professional development this past school year. I personally, at my school, we had A+ training on the schedule, and I had to cancel it this past year. So now I have a whole new group of staff coming in this year that really don't have a foundation of what is arts integrated teaching and learning. And so I need to be able to provide that for my staff. Now, yes, I know there's many work days at the beginning of the school year, but we do have things on the calendar from the district that we're required to attend. And then teachers do need to have time to meet with their team, get plans in place, set up their room, be ready for open house. And so, taking those days from them for school level PD, we do some of that, but to do what we really need to do to get our teachers prepared, we can't do that on those beginning of school work days. And so, you kind of kick the can down the road a little bit, if you don't have a plan. And so what we're presenting to you tonight is a way for us to have a plan to, make sure our teachers have what they need to feel successful in the classrooms.
I just want to hear as a parent, you realize there's a trade-off there and that this is the best thing for our kids.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking.
It's a great question, Mr. Walter. Just to kind of put some of your concerns at ease a little bit. Right now, our calendar has 1,045.76 hours total instruction. The state requires us by law 1,025. You're looking at 2 to 3 hours each day here, depending on the elementary and middle school schedule. The return on investment here would be great and very strong if given the opportunity to continue to develop our teachers. We do not take lightly, and it was a lot of discussion and a lot of meetings that we went through to get to this particular presentation. It wasn't like we just knee-jerked, yep, sure, go ahead, do it. We asked all the right questions. What are you doing? How is the professional development going to impact the classroom? How is it going to improve the students' learning environments? All those particulars were covered by the principals. It was a very well thought out plan. These schools will still have in excess of 1,036 hours, so they'll be exceeding the state mandate at 1,025. And I do believe that the return on investment by giving them some opportunities to work directly with their staff will impact the classrooms and impact learning for the betterment. So I don't think it's a huge trade-off, but we are very mindful of your point that we are giving up something to gain a little bit as well. So I thank you for your input on that.
Ms. Sandage?
So thank you for the presentation, and of course, I love the advocacy. I like when people know what they need and they ask for it. Can you go back to the there you go, employment slide. Can you break down that for me? What does that mean?
So what that looks like is we have the opportunity to, like, for example, we have a media vacancy at Rocky River Elementary School, and so we are able to look at someone who is currently enrolled in a program for that vacancy but does not necessarily have their license, so they have a provisional license. And so all of our staff are certified, they have license, but they may have a provisional license, which is typically a 3-year license granted from the state of North Carolina.
And I'm just going to guess we're able to do that. That's why we're doing it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
The other thing I was going to ask you, and please answer honestly, like you won't, right? I just wanted to ask, do you have what you need in this program to continue for us to see or exceed growth and meet growth?
I think we do. I think the biggest thing that we need as leaders of these schools is to be able to have a cabinet and everyone here at the Ed Center support for us to think outside the box, which is what Dr. Kopicki said at the beginning, looking at innovative ideas. The purpose of Restart is to do that. And we do still need to run school. We want to make, the whole point of Restart is to have a successful academic outcome for students, doing it a little bit creatively, so you're thinking outside of the box. So we want to do that. We're trying to get to that point, and I think this is the big step forward, I would say. I've been a Restart school for now 5 years at the two schools, and this is probably one of our biggest step forward in that process. And I think that is huge. And in doing what you just had, getting what we really need to help our staff grow, so our students can grow.
Last question was about behavior. Can you help me understand what some of those, whatever you're introducing to the students as it relates to looking at behaviors, what does that look like? What are some of the things that you're doing around behavior?
So I can say at Rocky River and at Irvin, we both have a student success coach, and Weinkauf has a classroom culture coach. And so our student success coach works very closely with our Tier 2 and Tier 3 students in our MTSS process for behavior. She does a lot with our CISP team. She does a lot with collecting behavior data, pulling small groups. And so, again, I think that's something that we've all kind of seen a little uptick in over this past school year. And so I think all of our staff are committed to seeing those behaviors decrease. And so just having that additional support person to help support our teachers and in turn help support our students has been a great asset to Rocky River for sure.
I guess I was looking for, and thanks for answering the question, I do understand. What I'm trying to understand is when we have like behavioral problems, does it help with having that counselor that you're talking about? Are you able to access like social worker? Are you able to access like case manager, or is that the first go-to? Like what happens in those scenarios?
No, so all of we have guidance counselors, our CISP team, our social workers, our psychologists, our school psychologists. And so I know like our student success coach works very closely with our CISP team, but in terms of like crisis, our CISP team is the first point of contact, which is our social worker, our psychologist, and then our student success coach does more with the classroom type behaviors in Tier 2 and Tier 3 MTSS processes.
And I would also add to that, just from coming from Irvin, that student success coach there, it's more of that coaching. That position is really to help coach our teachers and help teachers with classroom management, some different ways looking at the classroom as a whole, which maybe a new teacher that needs a little help and support with that, so they can also be used that way. So it's not just thinking of behavior as a one-child kind of one-on-one type situation. It's really looking at the whole classroom and helping teachers and grow teachers that way too.
And then I just wanted to clarify too, our CISP team is made up of our guidance counselor, our social worker, and our school psychologist. CISP means our student instructional support personnel.
Thanks for indulging me.
Ms. Carpenter?
Yes, You know, did this not really start out when they started, and this is kind of a sore spot for me, when they started giving letter grades to our schools, A, B, C, D, E, F? Is that not where this restart really started? When they started doing that, is that not correct? Because if you were a D or F, you got in the restart program. Is that not correct?
Yes, ma'am.
If you were in that, this is where because, man, this is not really good, because the way they were using that program, and they really need it, because to me, that I never really liked that, because when you start labeling our schools, it's not good, because people said, ooh, I don't want to go to an F school. I don't want to go to a D school. And you were labeling them. And the way they used that and tried to, because the elementary schools, they were I don't know how to say this. The high schools were done differently than the elementary schools were, and which was wrong. And so how the state decided the tiers, how they were made up, were wrong. And so the whole system was not correct. So y'all need to rethink that. You should never label. Would you like to be labeled? I don't think so. So they need to rethink that. But that's how this whole thing started. Now, your presentation, guys, y'all did an outstanding job. And y'all have done wonderful with that, using these type of things. I was just going to jump in. Okay.
We have moved those letter grades, though, in some of our restart schools. So that we are showing growth. And at Irvin, we did move from a D to a C. So we are showing growth. I think that's good for everybody to know, like we said in the one data. So yes, it's a letter, but we are moving our kids all the way around.
And they have. I mean, all of us, we've done well with it, because we're Cabarrus County. But I've never agreed with that, but that's where all this started, when they started with the letter grades, which I hope the state will. They keep saying they're going to revisit this, but the way they did it different from elementaries and high schools, the whole system is not good. So I hope y'all will revisit that, because it's just not, it's not good.
And when was the grading system implemented?
I wanted to say, in all fairness, I know that was before your time of service, so I'm not sure what year it is, but maybe we can get that to Representative Baker, so she'll have some
Yeah, if you would,
Yeah.
because it started back, it was before, when did that start? It's been tossed about, but it's been for a while.
Dr.
But-
Kopicki, do you think your staff could get
We could get that,
Dr.
we can
Baker?
get that information by
But
tomorrow. It's
it
just a
is.
date a year.
But y'all have done
It's
an
been in play
outstanding-
for several
and like
years. but we can
Cabarrus,
get the actual
y'all-
date, not a
most of
problem.
our schools have gone. I don't think do we have any, I don't think we do. Most of our schools now are D, and they've increased. But y'all have done an outstanding job, and I appreciate what our schools have done. But I don't think we've got any Fs at all.
Let's let Dr. Kopicki do
Yeah,
some
you
type of
could-
report
you can-
for Dr.
Yeah,
Baker
you
and
could
for the
do that.
board as well, so that we can move on. You good?
Okay, but thank you again for everything you've done.
Thank you. Mr. Furr?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, we may have been labeled, but one thing about it, you guys didn't sit around and not do anything about it, and I appreciate that. And commend you for being here in July, which I know you would rather be somewhere else. But anyway, how could anyone that goes to your schools not be excited with your presentation and your excitement? I mean, it just shows. And so your kids are in for a treat. I think they're lucky to have you guys, and I just want to say thank you very much.
Ms. Blackwell?
So thank you, Tim, because that's, I wanted to say that I think that this presentation was fantastic. You ladies are wonderful, wonderful. I have a special place in my heart for Irvin, and I always will. I think you guys have done a fantastic job with this program. I'm just very excited to see the growth now and then where it's going to lead to. So thank you very much for all of your hard work. I do have a question regarding transportation. So You did mention about the Boys and Girls Club, and then you did mention about Kids Plus. I guess my question is in reference to the rest of the kids who don't utilize those services, and have you talked to Art Whitaker, and how is the bus situation going to work?
So Laura, I can answer that. As soon as this plan was devised, they came to me with the plan. I ran it by Art. Art said it would be no issue at all, and that he would be able to support this.
Fantastic. That's good.
Okay, with that, may I have a motion that we approve the restart calendar revisions as presented?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Sandage and a second by Ms. Blackwell. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes unanimously. Thank you for being here, and thank you for such a great presentation.
Thank you.
Board members, we will move to 8.06, the Facilities Use Agreement Form Revision, and we have Dr. Kelly Withers again.
Okay, so we have the facility use application. Once we pull that up, our safety committee and as well, actually, a joint meeting of law enforcement officials with Amy Louder and her team met with us, and we were looking at a variety of different issues, but we wanted to bring this community use facility, school facilities form to you. And Jay White has also reviewed this, thank you very much. So we have some revisions, and they are in red so that you will know the parts of the form that we have revised. The only thing on page 1, the top part, that we extended this out to 30 days instead of 2 weeks. And that is simply so we can make sure we have the appropriate resources in place for renters or people who are using our facilities to get their paperwork in, and for us to make sure we have what is needed. But the big revision that we really wanted to do, or we were asking for, is that it would be required on this bottom line, and it's also written on the first page on the bottom line, but also on 5D, if you want to look at that. The part about Cabarrus County Schools will determine the required number of security officers for each event as needed, and requiring that officers be provided by Cabarrus County Law Enforcement or the City of Concord Police, depending on where the location of the facility is. And that is to prevent outside security sources from being secured and us using law enforcement officials in our city or county areas. The other pieces and parts that are in red were revisions suggested by attorneys that we needed to clarify definitions in the contract, as well as making sure we included users, participants, and the persons in attendance. So spelling that out specifically, that all of the rules and regulations apply to everyone who is at the event using our facilities.
Okay, thank you, and I will open the floor for discussion, and I will begin with Ms. Blackwell.
No questions. This is an excellent revision to this, and I totally support it, so thank you.
Mr. Furr?
No questions. It looks pretty straightforward.
Ms. Carpenter?
I'll keep the tradition, no questions.
Mr. Walter?
I've got to break the tradition, sorry.
If you break it, you go on the policy committee tonight, immediately.
That actually is one of the questions. If we're going to require officers to be Cabarrus County or City of Concord, shouldn't that be in the policy? Shouldn't it be in the policy that covers this document? Because then you're adding stuff that's not in policy to a form, which I have a problem with. And then secondly, we're extending this to 30 days, and I understand the reasoning, but doesn't that make it yet another burden for a community organization to use our schools? So we're really discouraging the community from using the schools when we're saying the opposite, but I do understand the purpose for it.
So, Mr. Walter, did you have the policy pulled up for usage of facilities? Do you know what number that is?
5030, I think, but I don't have it up yet.
Okay, so whatever number that is, Dr. Kopicki, can you make sure that actually does get back to the policy committee? Alignment of that should be definitely very clear.
Will do.
Okay, thank you. All right, Mr. Walter, does that take care of your issue?
Yeah, I'm just bringing out the concern, that's all I think.
No, that was a good catch. That's a good catch. It really, any form we have should really align with board policy, so that's a good catch. Anything else? Okay, Ms. Adcock?
No, don't have any questions or comments.
Okay, and with that request to Dr. Kopicki, I'll ask that the board...
Can I ask a question?
I'm sorry, yes?
Well, maybe not a question, but just a statement. I just want to second what Rob said about the concern for people not being able to use our facilities based off of us making it more stringent. Can we just have clarity that that is not the case, and we don't see that as an issue?
Dr. Withers, I guess my question would be before Dr. Kopicki, before you take over, is has this been ran by like the CVB, the ones that actually do utilize and would need to know about this form update?
So that is part of it, yes, we will, if approved, we will inform them, but they are also part of the conversation, as well as law enforcement. To clarify, it was not the intention to make it more difficult. It is taking that long to secure the necessary personnel and resources. If we have to have custodial support, if we have to have staff present, if we have to have law enforcement present, the turnaround time to secure those resources is more rapid than 2 weeks doesn't give us enough time. And so then we would give a potential renter the unfortunate news, potentially the day before the event, that they don't have the staffing, which would prevent them from using it and could impact their event. So the idea is that we would give them, if they know of the event in 30 days, which in most cases, people that are planning large events that bring people in, they're having to advertise it that far out. We're just asking that they take that into consideration and make sure they've done the appropriate paperwork to get the resources needed, specifically the human capital resources that are needed to make sure their events can occur.
Right. Mr. Furr, you're our athletic liaison. Do you have an issue with this?
No, because I know even with our own athletic events, we sometimes struggle getting law enforcement and custodians lined up, and they're scheduled a year in advance. So in this day and time, it's hard to get people. So the more time you give them, the better, I think.
Okay, good point. Ms. Sandich, does that address your concern?
It does. I just know I've had a provider to call me and ask me about a facility, so
Okay.
I was just wanting to make sure that it's not more difficult. And I do get that we've, post-pandemic, and it would be difficult, getting resources based off of that. But I just wanted to make sure, we weren't making it too hard.
Okay, great. Dr. Kubicki, did you have a comment?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, hearing that, may I have a motion that the facilities use agreement form revisions be approved as presented?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Adcock, a second by Ms. Blackwell. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes unanimously. We will move to 8.07, the Weddington Hills Elementary School roof replacement, and we will have Mr. Chuck Taylor. Good evening.
Good evening, board members, and thank you so much for saving the best for last. I'm here to ask for your consideration and approval of the bid for Weddington Hills roof replacement. It came in with Daveco Roofing. We were fortunate, first time since the pandemic, we've had 9 bidders on a contract. So this is definitely a good sign moving forward, and hopefully it is a trend that we will continue. So with that, I'll turn it over to you for any questions. This is time sensitive and really need to get this in. Some of the materials are at least 8 to 9 months out.
Thank you. Mr. Taylor, do you have a dollar figure?
Yes, ma'am, it is $1,063, $63,550, I'm sorry.
One more time, $1,063,000.
$63,550.
All right, and with that, I will open it up for discussion, and I will begin with Ms. Adcock.
Thank you for bringing this to our attention. I do have one question. Was this already included in the capital budget for this next coming year, or is this?
Yes, ma'am, it is. It was approved through the CIP list with the county or the capital improvement list. It's a separate list from that top 36 that you guys look at, but it is sent to the county and approved through them.
Thank you.
Yes,
appreciate it.
Mr. Walter?
Okay, explain that one to me. We have a capital list of our top priority projects, and it's not on that project list?
No, sir. There is a separate capital improvement plan that the county likes us to provide to them And that plan includes anything that is greater than $500,000.
Okay, but so does the top 36 list.
The top 36 is anything 25,000 to 499,000, sir.
Okay, but I don't recall seeing that list.
Yes, sir. We cover it every year in budget.
All right, well, I don't recall. I see we have a roof replacement priorities on that top 36 list of Irvin from fiscal year 19. Where is that one? When is that going to get done?
That's a repair, sir. That's a smaller capital improvement plan.
That's for the same amount.
For $1 million?
Yes, sir,
sorry.
$1,265,664.
I'm not sure where you're seeing that.
It's the budget that was presented.
That
Anyway,
would have to be the CIP list.
okay, that's what I'm saying. I'm looking at the CIP list and I did not see it on there, but I see that as a top priority list, and that's the question that I'm asking.
Yes, sir. All these items at the top of that list that was presented during Budget Committee are CIP list items, and they're explained in the Budget Committee and during the budget
So
presentation.
where is that project, if that is our top priority project?
Okay. That project, I'm sorry. Forgive me. That project's not on that list because it's already been funded. Those are projects for next year.
So it's already been funded?
Yes, sir.
To the last, where was that on the, so it would have been in the prior year budget, is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir. It would have been last year's.
Okay, I want to see that before I'm comfortable approving it, but thank you.
So this one has been funded.
Yes.
You've been waiting for the bid.
We had 5 roofs funded this year through the capital improvement plan. This is one of them. I will be bringing 2 more to you next month.
What you have, Mr. Walter, is the request for the new budget year.
Yeah, I just want to see our top priority projects funded first before we do other things. But
Well, we have to,
So that's all where I
Act
just want
on
to make
this
sure it's in
tonight.
alignment.
Already presented to
That
you,
we've
sir.
said that, hey, this is our top priority project, it's funded. Because you're coming to us, you're asking us to approve something for over $1 million on the same night that you're presenting it to us, and I don't have time to review it, I don't have time to really.
well, this was placed on the board docs, and you had it in your agenda that you received last
For about
week.
5 days, correct.
Right, but this has already been funded. He's just been waiting on the bids.
All right, I understand, I'm just trying to get my brain around it, and I don't have it yet, so I'll move on to somebody else, thanks.
Okay, thanks. Ms. Sandage?
I just wanted to clarify the dollar amount on our agenda is different from what was just provided. Did I miss something?
Well, I didn't actually have amount in the motion, that's why I asked for it. So what do you have?
Is it the 1,108? Yeah. And then I heard 1,663, I think, initially.
Yes, ma'am. That includes an alternate for fall protection, but we do not have enough money that was budgeted in that to cover it. So that's not included in the figure I gave you. The figure that I'm asking you to approve tonight is $1,063,550.
Which has already been approved and in the budget. Okay. So, Ms. Sandage, any other comments or questions?
No, I just want to make sure that we know that figure is different.
Exactly. And I'll include that in the motion. Ms. Carpenter?
I apologize. That's my fault.
question, because we're showing a different figure. We're showing that 1,108,500.
Ms. Carpenter, will you key up, please?
Showing on our, excuse me, is what's showing on the thing.
Okay,
So
that's
make
okay.
sure we get the
That's why I
correct
wanted to
amount.
make sure it was clear.
Okay.
Are you good, other than that?
I'm good.
Mr. Furr? I'm good. Ms. Blackwell?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. May I have a motion that we approve the Weddington Hills School roof replacement in the amount of $1,063,550 as presented?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Blackwell, a second by Ms. Adcock. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 6-1 with Mr. Walter as a no. And we will keep you for 8.08 Rowan Cabarrus Community College Cafetorium Upfit Project.
Okay, once again, thank you very much for considering and hopefully approving my request for the bid on the cafetorium building. This is the second building for the RCC Early College, and it came in at $980,250.
Okay,
That's with an alternate included in that.
And one more time, $980,250.
I'm sorry. I'm reading the wrong ones.
We're going to fire you. One more
This is a
time.
lot of pressure.
One more time, the correct number, please.
$818,437.
We
you
saved the
go.
best for last. That's right.
437, so it's not 437?
Ms. Carpenter, will
Isn't
you
that
key
what I
up, and I'll start with you.
I'm sorry. We're showing 437.
That's what he just said.
Well, I thought he said something different.
$818,437.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
that's correct.
Okay.
$818,437.
Okay.
That's with the alternate number 2 that you see on that sheet.
Okay. Ms. Carpenter, does that take care of your,
That money we've received that money already, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
yes.
Okay.
It was approved.
All right. That's my only question.
Okay. Ms. Angel, I'll catch you to her left.
I don't have any questions.
Okay. Mr. Burr? Ms. Blackwell?
No, I'm good.
Mr. Walter? Do I dare?
Yes, same question. I'm off guard. I didn't see this one in the budget either.
This was budgeted for early college last year. It was funded by the county in the amount of, it was around $1.8 million.
Okay, well, 5 days ago was the first time I've seen that, so,
Well, actually, it's been almost a year since this stuff was approved.
okay.
Remember, these were already
This is
approved
last
last year.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it anywhere, and I can't find it anywhere. And
Okay.
I searched cafeteria or whatever, and nothing's popping up.
I'll show it to you right after this meeting, sir.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Mr. Walter. Ms. Adcock, anything?
No.
Okay. With that, may I have a motion that the Rowan Cabarrus Community College Cafetorium Project be approved in the amount of $818,437?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion by Ms. Adcock, a second by Ms. Blackwell. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 6-1 with Mr. Walter as a no. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you,
very
Mr.
much, and
Taylor.
I promise to bring my glasses next time.
Good night. Okay, and with that, board members, that concludes our business/work session agenda. I will ask that we have a motion to convene in closed session pursuant to consult with an attorney and preserve the attorney-client privilege pursuant to General Statute 143-318-11A3, and to consider confidential personnel matters pursuant to General Statute 143-318-11A6.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Adcock, a second by Ms. Blackwell. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Thank you. With that, we will say goodnight to our viewing audience and remind you that our next business or work session will be on Monday, August the 1st, and we will see you then. Good night.